Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for The Amazing Spider-Man issue 27. Crazy looking cover here, and it kind of fits because Doc Ock does feature into this, but he doesn't go after Spidey and Black Cat right off the bat, so we'll see how this kind of works. And I really enjoyed this issue, and it is kind of strange because we got McGinnis doing the artwork, which is great in here, but we also heard the sad news that John Romita Sr. passed away, and he was very prolific with Spider-Man, and I hope that his family's dealing with the loss are all right, because it's hard when you lose someone. And here's a big force with Spider-Man. I mean, his son's been doing the artwork for most of this run, and I hope that he takes the time to process what's going on, and we'll always wait around for people to be better to do the great work that they can do, because I've loved his work from what I've seen. I mean, he did great work with the Cap in Dimension Z. I've loved his work that he's been doing with The Amazing Spider-Man, so I hope that the Romita family takes the time to go through the process and that they come out okay. So let's get to reviewing this. So we are now coming off the heels of the whole emissary storyline, so this definitely is kind of like a palate cleanser kind of thing. Well, not a palate cleanser, but like a falling action. We're kind of dealing with the consequences of what's come on, and we just get really good action kind of artwork. We see that Spidey is in kind of no-nonsense mode. The death of Miss Marvel has really affected him, saying that he's got him because they're going after Shocker. And Black Cat's like, that's great, but I'm not loving the tone, try to have some fun with it. And he's like, why? And she's like, that's because that's allowed, okay? Okay, as we see Spidey's still in serious mode. And of course, Spidey just immediately is like, get on the ground, Herman. I'm not playing around. Thanks for letting me know. Time to get Gauntlet set to serious. And trying to like blast Peter's like, oh shit. And I'm like, nice little Star Trek reference. And then we see Black Cat goes up to Herman's like, hey, don't hurt him. And he's like, oh, why not? Because I didn't bait you with a too good to be true job so you could kill my boyfriend. I'm just trying to loosen him up. The tip was from you? This is a setup? It's like, yeah, of course that would happen to Shocker. And everyone's like, who do you think I am? A palate cleanser for the hero who's fought everyone. Don't antagonize him, Cat. It's like, she's not wrong. Like, Shocker has his place in Spidey's rogues gallery and can be an effective and threatening villain, but he can also be like that one that you just have Spidey frickin' deal with sometimes. Of course, Spidey's like, this job's dangerous enough. She's like, but it's also kind of fun, right? And he's like, no. And she's like, a little? Let me settle this. You're both dead. And he tries to shock him, but his gauntlets fall apart. And he's like, what did you do? Oh no. Did my dirty thieving little fingers do something bad? And I'm like, damn it, Cat. And it's really weird because she's kind of doing the kind of stuff that, well, not the kind of stuff, but the quipping that, like, Peter would usually do, but it doesn't feel like they just put on Peter's voice for Black Cat. She's doing it in her own kind of ways, which is nice. It's kind of cool to see how she's kind of dealing with the situation as well. And she's like, and Shocker's like, is this funny to you? This is my job, and now I have to kill you. And Pete's like, do you see how things escalate? And I don't think he means it. You're gonna die! And it looks so comical, and she's like, really bad choice of words, Herman. And Pete is not taking that. Nobody's going to die. Nobody's killing anyone, kind of thing. As he just takes him out with a punch. Pete's not playing around. I really love that panel. It just shows that Pete's not playing. The effective use of nobody's killing anyone, and just Shocker going down, like, effectively. I mean, we've already seen what he can do when he's in an amped up state with Cap's shield. It's like, damn. She asks him if he feels better. You know I don't. This isn't a game, Cap. People can get hurt. People like Miss Marvel, like Miss Marvel. And she's like, maybe this was too much too soon. Yeah, said he seems quiet after Emissary's attack anyway. Let's call it a day. As we see that Doc Ock's arms are kind of watching in. get you away from prying eyes. And then Black Cat asks for Norman to send a detainment team for the Shocker. Spider-Man signing off for a while as she's asking if Norman's there, as he's even reliving Pete cradling Miss Marvel's dead body. And then we see that like one of his employees is like coming up to him, and he's like, "Yeah, what is it? Got word from the DA's office. They're not going to prosecute you. They agreed that Ashley Kafka, aka the Queen Goblin, was a danger to the public. Your actions were justified." It's like, what the hell? And saying that he's not responsible for that. Now, granted, I have not been reading Gold Goblin, but evidently Norman had to kill her. And of course, he's like, not responsible, but I'm the one who, in any measurable legal sense, it never even happened. You're completely in the clear. That's why you pay us. So you don't have to worry yourself about it. But we do see that Norman is worrying himself about it, which is a good and a bad thing. Like, he's constantly trying to make sure that he's doing the right thing and not turning into the Green Goblin again. However, if you do that too much, you kind of can get to the Green Goblin through the roundabout backdoor entrance. And of course, Green Goblin's like, take them, as he utilizes, he's like, leave him alone, and uses a chain and chokes her out. And of course, the employee's wondering if he's listening to her, and she's like, I had to. And then of course, Peter's thinking like, how long has it been since Miss Marvel Kamala gave her life to save MJ, to save all of us? Black Cat is right. She'd want us to keep to go on, keep fighting the good fight, and I will for her eventually, as he still has her mask. And he goes to sleep, and we see that Doc Ock's arms pop up and tuck him in. It's very touching and cute. And then he goes back, the arms go back out, and then we see, if it isn't my better half stepping out on me again. It's like, that ain't good. So we see that Doc Ock is having none of it. If you thought I would forgive your betrayal, have I got a surprise for you? And I love this. It shows him there, and then shows him clicking the button, and of course, shocking the tentacles. And then he starts going into a kind of spiel of like how when he was young, he fell in love with a goddess. They called her Radiation, the atomic song. Her beauty was so holy no man could see her. Her form so sacred no man could touch her. So I became more than a man. I built you, connected you to my spinal cord so I could touch her, feel her, and oh, how she tickled me. But over the years, so slowly that I barely noticed, I was you and I became... it was you and I who became enmeshed. You came to intuit my every wish, know my every intention, and somehow you betrayed me to protect Spider-Man, my greatest enemy. Which I think we're just pretty much led to believe that, like, he does have protective feelings for Peter. This wouldn't vex me if I could find some defect of design, some trace of tampering. I'd hypothesize your affinity for Spider-Man came from my own mind if the thought wasn't so outlandish it rends my face. No, and there it is. He's just in denial on that being a possibility. I'm afraid the only answer is you're broken and must be replaced, as we see him making the new tentacles that we had seen in previous ones. By a system with redundancies, my brain signals filtered through a medium of self-validating nanofood, so pretty much reinforcing his worst kind of aspects. A blockchain of consciousness, each octoid containing a self-correcting copy of the whole, complete with my particular charms. And this is interesting. I mean, it gives Doc Ock essentially new powers and kind of a power-up, but with a way that makes sense. He's like, I don't know if I could trust these, so I'm making my own. And this is kind of crazy, and it kind of lines up with what we're seeing with Peter, with his kind of new suits and his new tricks that he can do, where his tentacles can, like, pretty much break off and just, like, do their own kind of stuff, which leaves you with only one purpose, to be destroyed, as the disassembled kind of, not disassembled, but broken apart pieces are like going through and ripping and destroying the tentacles. It's like, no. Then we get to Oscorp and we see that Pete is checking in on Osborn. And then he's talking about how he found Kamala snooping around. Before I joined the fight with Robin, I chased her off, but something in me knew she wasn't going to stay away. I recognized something in her, something in her, the same thing I always saw in you, the damned heroism. Now I recognize something far less flattering in myself, a body count that seems to follow me around. I was so upset by Kamala's death, I had to be reminded that I killed Queen Goblin last month. Norman, it isn't. Don't worry, Peter. I'm not making excuses. I know if I had never been the Green Goblin in the first place, Kamala never would have joined Oscorp. She never would have suspected I had evil intentions. It's all my fault. That's what you came here to say, isn't it? No, Norman, not at all. I came here to make sure you're okay, to make sure you can handle all this, to make sure you don't, Oh. And it's interesting. He's thinking that Pete's coming here to admonish him and be like, if you hadn't done all this stuff, she wouldn't be here, and to point the blame. But he's like, no. He wanted to make sure he was okay, and that he wasn't sliding into, like, the Green Goblin kind of territory, like doing what a friend would do. And that's really weird. Like, even though I'm versed with Spider-Man and his rogues galleries and everything, mainly from certain video games, certain cartoon shows and everything. This is the first time I've really been on a Spidey run, and it's interesting to see this dynamic of Pete and Osborn being kind of friends, being kind of allies, and seeing how that kind of works out. And then, of course, Osborn's like, this is what you do, isn't it? Take responsibility for all of us. It must be exhausting, and it can't leave a lot of space for your own feelings. Maybe. But I'm not going to let anything bad come out of her sacrifice. I owe her that much. I know it's not what we are exactly, but I would like to be a good friend to you, to the extent you'll let me. And to that end, you don't have to worry about me. The Green Goblin is a road I will never go down again. I'm okay. Promise. I believe you. Wow. And it's kind of cool for him to be able to say that. But we know the nature of comics. We'll probably see the Green Goblin again, maybe in some kind of form or another, but I like what it is for this story. And he's sorry he worried. It's just the last couple of weeks have tried really hard to push you over the line. The Queen Goblin alone, you're right. And though I will always be conflicted by my role in her death, we can both take solace in one fact, that she's gone forever. And, of course, for his comics, that ain't true. So we shift off, and it's like, this dude, we're at Ravencroft, this dude's like, you're late, Shelby. Are you sure? I thought the schedule had a typo. Typo? Ashley Kafka was cremated for staff safety. How are we supposed to do an autopsy? First week at Ravencroft? Kafka was officially cremated, and you were supposed to meet me 15 minutes ago for an unofficial autopsy. Unofficial autopsy? We thought the Queen Goblin was infected with a bio-augmenting chemical, but her tissue is clean. That means she was empowered by some sort of self-expressing malevolent force. We've never seen anything like it. You think we're just going to chuck her body in a furnace? Use your brain, dip. As we see that they're looking in, and we see glowing eyes popping out. And the dude's like, holy shit! As we see the glasses flying, and we see that the Queen Goblin is not dead. So Norman has nothing to feel bad about, because she's coming back, and she ain't happy, and she's hissing, and that dude's pretty much dead, and there's another hand that's there, so if they ain't dead, they ain't happy. Holy shit. So, granted, that's really good artwork there. McGinnis does good Spidey work. I love it. And then we shift towards the ending. And we see that Jonah is dealing with the same kind of shit that happened that he would do with Spidey. Like ex-mayor rampages. He wants a retraction, an apology, a head on a pike. Ex-mayor rampages. It was a private wardrobe malfunction. You exploited a tragedy to sell papers. How do I know? Because I used to do it all the time. At least he admits it, and he doesn't hide from it. Asking where they got the photo, who sold it, protect your sources, your paper is a trumped-up tabloid butt rag. Maybe Bigfoot can't take you to court, but I sure as hell can. You listen to me, I'm going to come down there and hold on. What? Just classic J. Jonah Jameson. Good shit there. But then we see that who was knocking was the Doc Ock tentacle, saying that he'd have to call the person back. It's like, came to J. Jonah Jameson for help. Hopefully, they can help the tentacles. It would be interesting to I like it would be interesting to see Spidey using them, but it would be interesting if J. Jonah Jameson used them and he had his own kind of thing or whatnot. So we'll kind of have to see what goes on with that. And then, of course, we get a kind of preview of what it looks like of Doc Ock going after Gold Goblin and Spidey. So that's going to be kind of nutty. So I overall really enjoyed this issue. The artwork and the story was on point, working together. We see Black Cat trying her best to help Peter out through this. It was, granted, it is nutty to pretty much offer a fake job to a villain to kind of like have a beatdown session on him, but that works within her, and she's trying to help her boyfriend. So, yes, good place. Kind of work on the execution, though. Granted, she at least didn't go after one of the harder core ones, and we see that Pete is really taking Miss Marvel's death hard. He is not quipping and thwipping as he usually does, and instead is in serious tactical mode of dealing with these kind of situations. Hopefully we see that Peter kind of gets through this and deals with it, but I'm glad that we got to sit for it, to see that Doc Ock's tentacles tried to like comfort him, even though he was asleep at that point, and that Doc Ock's like, fuck you thing, I don't know why you're doing this, but not even coming to terms with himself. He just essentially creates another machine to feed and reinforce his worst kind of tendencies. So we'll have to see how that kind of works out, if he's able to come to terms and become better later on and become, I don't know, maybe if not a hero, at least someone who's not as villainous all the time, kind of similar with Black Cat, but as a villainous and antagonistic force with his new kind of tentacles that can break apart and do other kind of things, and with the whole nanofluid kind of stuff, it definitely makes him more of an interesting kind of threat that we'll see how that kind of changes up his attack styles, how it changes up his thought processes, what he tries to go and accomplish. That's kind of cool. And it just sucked that the other tentacles were damaged so badly. And I do like seeing Peter checking in with Osborn, seeing how their relationship is, and that Pete's actually trying to be a better kind of friend to him, because we saw the beginning of their relationship. Pete's like, I'm in mission mode, I gotta save MJ. And then working kind of better, and even it's an uneasy friendship. I do like that they're able to get that unease across because of all of their history, but then still trying and attempting to make a better relationship. And then the whole thing with the Queen Goblin, and that she's like, hey, I'm still alive, mothers. And it's like, motherfuckers is like, ah, shit. And those poor autopsy guys, it's like, yeah, you gotta have to watch out for that shit. And J. Jonah Jameson just dealing with tabloid nonsense. It's like, yes, karma is a motherfucking bitch. And then the tentacles coming to him for help. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of works out. I would probably assume that J. Jonah Jameson would get in contact with Peter and be like, I need help helping this thing. Like, it needs help. So we'll see how that kind of works out and what's going to kind of be going on as we start leading into year 2 of this, and what can be going on with these arcs. And of course we've got the whole wedding with Tombstone's daughter and all that. There's a lot of kind of cool stuff that we'll have to see. I've been enjoying this, and I'm glad this was another enjoyable issue. And if you didn't enjoy this issue, I totally get that. That's alright. If you haven't been enjoying this run, I totally get that. You want Spidey with certain kind of you want Spidey with MJ. You think that this was kind of just stupid and convoluted to get to a weird kind of status quo. I totally understand that point of view. And I totally get waiting it out to see when you eventually get back to a better kind of status quo with Peter to jump on with. That's very valid. I totally get that. And I'm still having fun, and I would actually like to see Peter and MJ back together as well. That would be my preference, because that's usually the default pairing that I see, but I've been having fun seeing how Black Cat and Peter, with their kind of relationship going on and going forward, and seeing what's kind of going on with this arc. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.